Good morning. Are we live?
I do believe so.
I do believe we. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now I think we're here. I think we're here. So this, wherever this is, this sunshine that is right. That's hard. I'm doing it backwards. Anyway, that sunshine that's coming in the window between Debbie and me. I said before we got on, the sunshine's so bright coming in my window, I can't even open my shade, even a crack, because I can't see. So, looks like a beautiful week and a beautiful day to start this week, just as yesterday was a beautiful day. So, the Chiefs won, scary as it was, but they won.
And our beautiful worship service yesterday, it really touched my heart.
It
It made me
was.
think.
It was. And Joe Gray recognizing our veterans was very, very special. Um, I have two uncles that served and several cousins that served, and although my dad did not, or my brother did not, it it is very meaningful to me when we recognize the veterans. And yeah, yesterday, of course, sitting where I always sat, but the two veterans that I could see were Clarence Stoll and Susan Vodraska. And I just couldn't help but smile the whole time sitting there, because Clarence knew that we were celebrating him and what that meant to him to have his church family recognizing and celebrating what he did for us.
And to not have it be forgotten.
And not to be forgotten. Absolutely.
The other thing I really liked about it is that Joe talked about the people who waited. That was awful. My mom talked about it a lot when I was growing up. It was hard.
And I didn't think about that when my uncles were in the service, when they were overseas, because it was both sides of my family. One uncle from one of my dad's brothers and one of my mom's brothers, and it wasn't until my cousin Shirley started writing the letters, copying the letters that had gone back and forth from my uncle to the war and to the family, and the letters that he had then also from the family. And it wasn't until I read part of what she had written that I really understood as a parent, not knowing. I mean, now we see it on the news and we know, but then we didn't. We just had to trust. We had to trust God that they were going to be okay. And they were there. They were truly giving it all,
Yes,
giving it all for us.
my husband's family lost an uncle. He never returned. He was listed missing in action. And they never found his remains. We've done the DNA through the VA. So if they do turn him up, we can tie that together. But Virgil never came back. He was missing. His plane went down in the Pacific. I mean, I don't know how Grandma Faye dealt with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, the other ones that we recognize, I can get really, I could go to a really dark place with that. So I don't want to do that.
No.
Others that we recognized were Tim Ming, John Morrison, Al Green, and Jack Hill. So those, and of course, Clarence and Susan. Those are the ones that we still have that worship with us every week. And what a blessing it is to have them sitting right there with us.
And we also recognize Desert Storm,
Yes.
Korea, Vietnam, and some of the other conflicts that we've been in.
Yeah. A lot.
Yes.
We owe so much to our veterans. I found some scriptures that relate to service, and the first one is Isaiah 40 verse 31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Military service is exhausting, physically, mentally, for both, like we were talking about, the veterans and the families. And they know what that feels like, to be down, to have to push through challenges, the things that they don't want to do, but they know that this is the mission, and that's what's on the agenda for today.
And there's no choice
And
but
there's no
forward.
Right. And this verse, it reminds us that God gives strength to those who hope in Him, just as the eagles soar high above us. The second one, honoring veterans with respect. With respect and honor, Romans 13:7. Give to everyone what you owe them. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor. And again, veterans have given so much in service to their country, sacrificing time, comfort, and sometimes their very lives to protect our freedoms. Just as we give respect to those in authority, we should give honor and respect to those who have courageously defended our nation. And John 15:13, the ultimate sacrifice of freedom. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. This is the heart of true selflessness, the willingness to give everything, even one's own life, for the sake of others. Their courage and sacrifice echo the love that Christ spoke of, a love that puts others above self, even at a great personal cost. And the last one, it seems so obvious, and yet when I read this, I thought, oh, why didn't I think of that? Honoring veterans as peacemakers. Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. And it's recognizing those who work to create peace as blessed and beloved by God. I mean, I can't imagine that if they didn't have God at the center of their life, when they went over there, they surely had to find Him.
There were so many who served in other capacities, like the cook who prepared the meals, the medical personnel who healed, the logistics providing clothing, food, ammunition. There were so many ways to serve. Working on the assembly line here in the States, making tanks building ships, all that. It was a huge, huge joint effort.
And something that I hadn't thought about at all, but my guy that I took care of for so many years, he was in World War II, and he was a Seabee. And I was like, I thought they were at sea. No, they were the construction guys. They went and built the bases, where they were going to store things and put up barracks, so to speak, for the guys to live in. It was.
There's an old John Wayne movie called The Fighting Seabees.
Yes.
It's a very good movie.
I need to watch that again. I hadn't thought about that. Well, so let's talk about the sermon yesterday. What if we followed Jesus with our hearts? What does that look like? What does that look like? We talked about the widow's mite, and we all know that story. The poor widow gave 2 small copper coins to the temple treasury, and her offering, Jesus saw that as a way to teach the disciples, and certainly to teach us.
That story's always made me feel guilty that I haven't done that.
But we give. Sometimes we don't tithe because we are still trying to put food on our own tables. And that's okay. You can't just go from graduating from high school or from college or whatever and being I'll say a full-fledged, I don't even know what words to say, involved, dedicated, perfect, no, we're never perfect, to doing everything right. And God doesn't expect that. He expects us to give from our hearts, and the more gains that we make, the more we are able to give back. And not just money. There are so many ways that we share. From Mark 12:44, for they all contributed, even those with lots and lots of money.
Well,
They
like
all
the story-
contributed. I'm sorry.
Like the story Lydia told yesterday about the 2 pairs of shoes, or the boots. It's so true.
Yep.
I mean, we do have abundance compared to some.
Yeah, we do.
It's like if you have 2 coats, you give one to someone that doesn't have any.
And it helps them physically, and it helps me, or helps us, emotionally and spiritually.
And
Giving.
it's a teaching moment. So when the person who is the recipient of the pair of boots or the coat, he sees that we've given, and hopefully we will inspire that person to give of themselves.
Yes. So the scripture said she gave everything. And Debbie, you and I talked about giving every last drop. You want to share what your thoughts were on giving every last drop? We can't.
Well, no, because our well runs dry, and you can't give from a dry well.
And that's not just money.
Yes,
It's
I
our
think that people run on empty, and sometimes that manifests itself as grudgingly or without heart or no compassion. So I think that in order to fill ourselves up is more important in most respects.
well, you know, it's
Because
kind of it's kind of like being on an airplane, and the stewardess says, in case of an emergency, the masks will come down and put. You know, we know that whole thing. And several people, every time I'm on a plane, will lean to somebody close. I just don't understand why I have to put this on myself first. Well, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else. Physically, emotionally, financially, I mean, we have to take care of ourselves. But we also are called to take care of others, just not completely deplete the resources that we have. But we need to share out of the abundance that we have.
we need to fill ourselves up with God through the Holy Spirit.
And there's so many ways that we can do that. And I know we've talked quite a bit about how do we fill ourselves. Well, let's just look at yesterday. We were in fellowship together in Sunday school. We worshiped together. We sang together. We prayed together. We greeted each other. And the sunshine, looking at the flowers, everything in nature.
And Sunday school was a lesson about what it's like to be a preacher. It was a chapter on preaching. And we each do that, even though it's not on the scale with Pastor Lydia. But it's about being a parent, being a sister, being a friend. We all do it. We have obligations.
We all have little mini sermons that we should preach.
How many times?
Teach, I mean.
How many times have you done that with your kids?
Yes, how many times? Well, you know, and one thing that we were talking about yesterday about the class that you took that was 6 weeks long and taking the entire time to write one sermon.
Yes.
And then comments were made about being a pastor and how demanding it is of the time. There's hardly ever private time or downtime, as I like to call it, where you can't just sit and be not a pastor. My son-in-law is a pastor, so I kind of have a little bit of an inside track on what that life looks like. And pastors, I don't know how they do it. I really don't. They're amazing.
Yes. The class I took that was 6 weeks, we met once a week, and in between, we were supposed to work on a section of our sermon. It was a sermon class, how to write one. And I think it was the abbreviated version. But it took us a full 6 weeks to write it, and then we had to rewrite it, and then we had to give it to the class. It was really quite
a process.
Because our church had gone through a period of no pastor. We just had no pastor for like 6 months. So people from the congregation had to step in and give a message. So it was quite a learning experience.
And aren't you glad we have Pastor Ross
Amen.
to fill in? Yes, we are so blessed to have him. Something else that we talked about, in worship, but we've also talked during leadership meetings about toxic charity. And toxic charity, yes, we are called to serve, we are called to give, to help the needy, to help those that are just down on their luck. Not always, but just right now, because of some major bill or something that came. Maybe they were sick and they couldn't, whatever the reason, we are called to help. And the definition, toxic charity, is trying to address chronic, ongoing poverty or need through one-way crisis relief. So we're giving, but they're not gaining. It's like constantly providing fish, which is very much appreciated and needed. But our resources are going to dry up and go away if we taught them how to fish. And that doesn't necessarily mean fishing in the stream. We have to teach them life skills. We have to teach how to live live in a way that will help them provide for themselves. Maybe not 100%, but help them so that they then take pride in what they're doing.
Well, a handout temporarily is one thing. A hand up is teaching them the skills they need to live successfully.
Yes, you found the word, successfully. So the season is coming. Thanksgiving and Christmas, everybody has their hand out. I'm not meaning those in need. I mean those charities that are the ones that are supplying what is needed. And every place you go, the Salvation Army will be out soon, with their red buckets. But when we think about all of the giveaways that take place, the toys, Christmas time, turkeys, Thanksgiving and Christmas, coats, blankets, shoes, the school supplies, How many places, I couldn't even begin to figure how many places provide school supplies, backpacks, free lunches, or there's groups that go to a school and say, what's your school lunch debt? And maybe it's 100, maybe it's 1,000, and they say, okay, we will bring you a check and pay off that student loan or student lunch debt, so that those families don't have to worry about that. Or the school does it. And diapers. And we offer a free breakfast and free clothes. So those are short-term fixes. So we're giving them, we're helping immediate needs, but we're not reaching the long-term solution. And it becomes then a way of life for some, because then they depend on us for that weekly or that monthly, that they know that fish, I can go get the fish. I don't have to fish. They're going to give me one or two or three. So we've talked, how do we solve those issues? Well, I don't think we'll ever quote solve those issues, but how do we make it better? And we've had conversations, well, I think September we started having conversations with the other three churches on the square, First Baptist, First Presbyterian, and First Christian. We're right there within 2 blocks of each other. How do we work together to be stronger, to help, to make a bigger difference? I mean, we are all 4 churches are in the same life cycle situation. Members are older, attendance is down, and younger people are not in our neighborhoods like they used to be 30, 40 years ago. And I think in our heads we're living like it was 30 years ago when we had hundreds in service.
We want it to be that way.
We want it.
And so we can just do it by sheer force of will.
But how do we
And
make it
that's not the case.
sustainable? How do we make a program sustainable that is still providing fish, but teaching them how? So I know leadership team is talking about different opportunities, and I really think collaboration with other churches, with other organizations, our joint efforts can help us better supply the needs and still keep us filled. Because if we run dry, there's nothing.
Well, and the thing is, we still want an outlet for our love. We want to be able to live love. And it's hard to find ways to do that effectively.
It is. It's hard. It is hard to find. So I want to end. There's so much to talk about there. What if we follow Jesus with our hearts? Yeah, that was the sermon title yesterday. What if we offered a different way to meet the needs of our community? Lots of different ways. And at the same time, teach them how to provide for themselves. Teach them not just give them a piece of paper, here's where the resources are, but work with them and share, these are the resources that will help you. How do they get those? And create that community, the trust, caring, the love, and that community of working together. I think we can redirect our love, our efforts, our outreach, so that it makes a bigger, lasting impact on the community around us.
Something that's sustainable.
Yes, we need to be sustainable. So we're gonna leave you and let you hang with that for a while. But in your minds, think about that. How can we end the toxic charity and begin to share and teach and help our neighbors grow? We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.